Yes. If you go out there, they're to the left, across from the exercise room.
Hi, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to our MEC panel and potluck, Does the Farm Bill Have a Race Problem? I'm Sydney Daigle. I'm the director of the Prince George's County Food Equity Council. I'll start with a few housekeeping notes. As I hope you have already discovered, we have a potluck. Thank you to everyone who brought dishes. We really appreciate your generosity. Everything looks delicious. I'm hoping to grab a plate soon. I will also note that bathrooms are down the hall, and you see the exercise room on your right. You are in the right spot. We will be live streaming tonight's event, so if you are on social media, please feel free to engage with us and ask us questions for the panel. Our Facebook handle is on the agenda, as are all of the Facebook handles for the presenters tonight. So I'd like to start by thanking our co-hosts for this evening. We have four. Eco City Farms is here. We have Prince George's County University of Maryland Extension Office. Thank you. The Food Justice Coalition. And finally, Bloomin PGC. So thank you all for supporting tonight. And of course, I'd like to thank our very distinguished panel. We will introduce them properly in a moment, but we have representatives from the Rural Coalition, the National Latino Farmers and Ranchers Association, the Socially Disadvantaged Farmers and Ranchers Policy and Research Center at Alcorn State University, and Drinking Out Loud Incorporated. We are so excited to bring you this panel tonight. This panel and potluck event is part of a series of meetings that our organization, the Food Equity Council, is hosting to help members develop a shared knowledge base and the partnerships that we need to tackle priority issues like racial equity in the local food system. Our Food Policy Council is a local independent council, and we work to help residents grow, sell, and choose healthier foods in the county. We have 18 members, some of whom who are here tonight, who are all community leaders and change makers in the county and in their neighborhoods, and they represent many different sectors of our local food system. Since 2013, our Food Policy Council has really been at the table, bringing residents to meet with decision makers, to build a healthier food system for everyone. We work with county leaders to find systematic and sustainable solutions to our county's public health and economic challenges by advocating for policies that create a more equitable local food system. We work to change the zoning ordinance to allow urban farming to take place in 3/4 of all the land in this county. We've advocated for tax credits to support urban farmers. We've worked to reduce the fees and streamline regulations for farmers markets, and we work to improve regulations and laws related to agritourism, just to name a few accomplishments. Our vision for Prince George's County is that every resident, regardless of their race, class, or zip code, can find healthy, affordable, sustainably produced, and culturally appropriate foods in their neighborhood. And we envision a county where food workers, whether they are on farms, in restaurants, or in stores, can expect a living wage and safe working conditions. Finally, and maybe most importantly for tonight, we believe that growers that supply our residents with locally produced foods should be able to stay on their land and access profitable markets of multiple scales. That's why we're having this event tonight. We believe that justice and economic opportunity should be built into the food system for everyone. And we're going to talk about the path to move towards that vision. This afternoon, you'll hear opening remarks from a couple of our co-hosts, Eco City Farms and also the Food Justice Coalition, about how they use a racial equity lens in their farming and food justice work. And then our panelists will discuss the challenges and opportunities for farmers of color in past and upcoming farmers. We are in a community center. We are really glad to be in a space that's accessible, so just ignore the All right, so our panelists will share some recommendations on what farmers and advocates can do to support growers of color locally in our county, and also some of the strategies for success that they've used to be successful successful advocates on the Farm Bill at the federal level. After our panel, we ask that you hold your questions until everyone finishes. We will have Q&A and a facilitated discussion. So with that, I will hand it over to Margaret Morgan Hubbard, the founder and CEO of Eco City Farms, and then to Red Shaw, the co-chair of the Food Justice Coalition, to give us some opening remarks.
I don't know, I think you can hear me better from here, because up there it just seems like another world. I have these brochures. It's on easily copied paper so that we don't spend any money or waste any trees. Eco City Farms is a food justice farm in Prince George's County. We are in Edmonston and Bladensburg. And in trying to develop a farm in these communities and begin to address issues about food, we found out that you really can't do anything without zoning changes. You can't do anything without policy changes. And that anything that we want to make permanent, we have to put into law. And when you look at the food bill, the current farm bill, or food bill, an awful lot of it is really in jeopardy right now, and it was bad enough as it was. I would hate to see it get worse. We have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of work to really change the food system, and one way of doing it is through legislation, and the other is through demonstration, and we are working on both. I just wanted to say, as one of the founders of the Food Equity Council, that it was an intentional thing that we did not call it a food policy council, which everyone else does, but we called it a food equity council because we wanted to put right up front what is the policies that we want to address. And what we want is to have healthy, affordable food available to all. And that is an equity issue first and foremost. So I'm very excited to see people here. We have to have these discussions in every setting we can think of, and welcome.
Good afternoon. The Food Justice Coalition of 20743 is a group of local organizations and residents who wants to make fair food in the 20743 zip code. We were formed in February of 2017 and is a joint partnership between the Food Equity Council. A joint partnership between the Food Equity Council and the Capital Area Food Bank. We see that our current food system prioritizes profits over people and takes power away from communities, especially when those communities are made up of people of color. We've come together to change that. We're about taking back power for us, and we do that through ownership. Our vision for the 2073 food system is one in which all residents, especially those who suffer at the hands of systemic racism and a history of disenfranchisement, are in positions to create and control food production, food business, and food access in their communities. We need ownership because whoever controls our food controls us. When we own the food system, as in we grow the food, own the land, own the stores, we look out for each other and make sure we, as a community, are good. The Food Justice Coalition focuses on empowerment and independence in the food system by changing the way we grow, sell, and access food in our community. Together, we will make food fair for everyone. FJC is proud to co-sponsor this event because our mission is about uplifting communities that are marginalized by our current food system. We know the impact that racism has on people purchasing food, but we want to expose the injustice done to those trying to provide that food. As we pursue our mission to restore ownership of the food system to communities of color, we have recognized that our growers and producers face significant challenges in their work. The Farm Bill was designed to address some of those challenges, but being created in a time and in a place where Black and brown lives were not considered worthy of fair treatment, we cannot expect the bill to properly account for the needs of our growers. And so we are here today to discuss those needs and how we can advocate for a better Farm Bill, but also for better local policy that speaks directly to our growers in Prince George's County. We will also continue to work beyond today to support our local growers. FJC is partnering with the Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Commission to open the Oak Crest Farmers Market right here at Oak Crest Community Center. The market is our first step in bringing the community together to support local producers, establish a new food culture in our neighborhood, and to increase access to healthy foods. If you are a grower or you know one that believes in our mission, we invite you to become a vendor at our market. If you aren't a grower and just want to see some good food come this way, join our movement. You can support us by donating, volunteering, or spreading the word. Every bit helps. We have flyers on the back table if you would like to leave your information with us. Thank you all for attending today. Your commitment to this work is vital, and we appreciate it deeply.
All right, thank you to Ren and Margaret. So with that, I'd like to call our panelists up. We will do your introductions once you're on the stage, and we will get kicked off after that. All right. So we're going to do the bios first, and then go ahead and have our panelists present one by one. Again, I know you'll have lots of questions, but we ask that you hold them until the end of the panel, just so we can stay on track, stay on the time that's our agenda. So I'd like to start by introducing Lorette Picciano. Lorette has served since 1992 as the director of the Rural Coalition, a DC-based alliance of more than 50 culturally diverse community-based organizations representing small producers and farm workers in the U.S. and Mexico. She works with the Rural Coalition's diverse board and members to promote just and sustainable development in rural areas, particularly in civil rights and agriculture. She is now participating in her 8th Farm Bill debate, where she has coordinated unified efforts to ensure equal access to USDA programs for farmers, ranchers, and farm workers, helping to secure more than 35 sections of new Farm Bill policies. Thank you for being with us tonight, Lorette. Next, we have Rudy. Rudy Arredondo has spent a lifetime defending the rights of Latinos around the United States. He's been the leading visionary for the National Latino Farmers and Ranchers Association for over 13 years. A highly motivated, bilingual problem solver and advocate with a lifetime career in civil, human, labor, immigration, and healthcare rights. Throughout his 24 years in Washington, he successfully managed millions of dollars in public project funds and has worked with LUAC, the Department of Agriculture, Hispanic Organizations Leadership Alliance, amongst others. Thank you, Rudy. Happy to have you here tonight. We have Lloyd, third to my right here. Lloyd is a farmer and retired USDA, United States Department of Agriculture, apologies, employee with 37 years of service. He served as the director of USDA's Office of Civil Rights in 1997 to 1998 during the period of the Black Farmer Settlement. Prior to this position, he was director of a number of conservation, community assistance, resource development, and watershed protection divisions in the Natural Resource Conservation Service in DC. He held a number of other positions with NRCS at the state, area, and local levels. He served for 1 year as a legislative assistant to Senator Tom Parkin and worked on the 1985 Farm Bill. Thank you for being here with us tonight, Lloyd. And finally, we have Violet King. Violet is an urban farmer, educator, and herbalist who's been working to bring healthier food options and farming and gardening and nutrition education to youth and adults who live east of the river for the past 5 years. Her work focuses on empowering youth and adults by teaching them how to grow and prepare their own food using sustainable and agroecological farming practices. Most recently, her work has been focused on race and equity in the Farm Bill and ways to educate more people of color about the impacts that policy has on our communities. She is currently the farm manager at the farm at Kelly Miller in Ward 7. Thank you so much for being here with us tonight, and we will start with Lorette's presentation.
Yay, how are you? Good. It's great to be here with you. How many folks who are with us tonight are actually farming right now?
Yeah.
Yay. I want to give a special shout out to I did bring, there should be enough copies for most of you, pieces from the Census of Agriculture. I gave them to somebody to hand out. And this is the Prince George's County summary of what's in the Census of Agriculture. And then there's two forms of it. One will be in blue, and there's one copy of that for everybody. And then the other one will be in black and white. And that one's thicker with the staple. And I want you to take a look at it, because one of the things to remember right now, is that the Census of Agriculture is going on right now. The 2017 Census of Agriculture started December 31st, 2017. And if you haven't received a Census of Agriculture form, if you grow and normally sell $1,000 worth of ag products, you should be counted here. And we got National Ag Statistics Service after the 2012 census to break the numbers down so we could know the specifics about the average size of African American farms versus the average overall size of farms in the county. So the last Census of Agriculture found 69 black farm operators out of 538 total operators. And then there might be more than one operator per farm, so that was 58 farms comprising 2,638 acres, an average of 46 acres, about half the size as the average of farms. So black farms were smaller, but they're still numerous in the county, and that's really important data. And what we want to make sure is we can see whether the number is going up and are the farm programs we're working. Hispanic farmers, there weren't enough of them to break out separately, but if you look at the two-sided sheet, in the last Census of Agriculture, 13 Hispanic farmers were found. And the reason we think that that is so important, on the back of the table, you'll find a little op-ed that we did that kind of tells you about being counted, and at the bottom of that is my contact information if you need to reach out. But this is how we tell, is what we're doing working? You know, are we doing anything to actually help farmers get into agriculture? So I just want to go over really quickly some of the things that we've been working on. And I put together like a really kind of short presentation, and I brought about 3 or 4 copies of it, and we can email it out to the rest of you. But the Farm Bill happens about every 5 years. We don't always know. What we know is it expires September 30th, 2018. And if it's not done, they might continue it, like continuing resolution, which means it just goes on. But in general, last time it took us 3 years to get the 2012 Farm Bill, became the 2014 Farm Bill. And I won't go into all the particular details, but there's a list of titles, and so there's commodities, you know, that's all the wheat, corn, and soybeans, the conservation title, the trade title, nutrition programs. Nutrition is like about 80% of all programs. Energy, horticulture, crop insurance, commodity futures trade was in some of those. And it's kind of broken down like this. And then our favorite title is miscellaneous, because that's about where we always got everything. Can you voice up? Sure. Sorry about that. Okay. And in terms of equity, I just want to show you a couple of pictures, okay? You can kind of see this picture, right? You can see there's a lot, it's a map of the United States, and there's a lot of red areas. The red areas on this one are where commodity payments are made. The red areas in this map is where poverty is. And there's actually a lot of overlap between people who are getting in the commodity programs, and what happens is the control of land, you get larger concentrations of land, and you get more poverty. You look at a map of where Walmart went, kind of went out where all the poor areas are. And then if you looked at equity, you looked at the Black and Hispanic populations, you see also a lot of overlap, right? So agriculture and how much benefits go back into communities, they're related. And if you would look at a map of PG County or almost any other city or of the Washington, D.C. area, you would also see almost everywhere there's a concentration of where people are poor and where they're not. And if you remember also, we're trying to get nutrition programs. We're trying to get those out because we want people to be able to eat. What do farmers have? If people are able to eat, they have people who are going to buy what they grow, right? So we need to have money for people to be able to buy what they grow. We have worked for many, many years now. I've been working since 1980. I started working with an interfaith community many, many years ago on, trying to make sure that there was enough food. There was enough food all over the world and in all the places in the United States. And what we've done together is that we said, look, number one, we have to protect food programs. So that's billions of dollars. Number two,
please make your way to the platform. Medical, ELO students and teachers, please make your way to the platform.
Number two, we have to know that there were a lot of things that happened in the past, as you all well know, where that land got more concentrated because there was discrimination. There was right discrimination, and a lot of it went right back to the Department of Agriculture and who controlled the land. So if you're a farmer and you can't get into a program, you're not going to, and then you try and take a loan and you try and grow your food, you're going to lose your land. So we worked on the discrimination lawsuits. The Rural Coalition worked on that through the 80s. And 1997, we came to Washington, and all the groups. It's like the Federation of Southern Cooperatives, many, many other groups. And ultimately, about $4 billion has gone back to Black and other people of color farmers, but it's not enough, and it's not near what was taken from them. So what we've done over the last number of years is tried to redirect whatever funding we can to be able to go to the people that have been left behind in the other farm bills. And so that also includes in conservation programs. Lloyd has worked in conservation programs for a long time. If you are, and we had to do a definition of a farmer who's been discriminated against, you can get, instead of 50% of the money it takes to build a high tunnel, you can get up to 80%. It's a little complicated, but we put these provisions in. And I think that was, Lloyd, we were working all together on the committees at that time, and Rudy. And you could also, so that program, the EQIP program, has been a really important program to help get entree of the farmers to the programs. There's also a bunch of outreach programs, the Outreach and Assistance Program for basically people of color farmers. I put something on the back page on that. It was like $1 million, $2 million to serve the whole county. We got it up to $20 million. This is for all the groups that do the hand-holding and take, they're all like Eco City Farms. They take the farmers into the program, into the office, and they get in there. That, we worked to get that program founded since the late 1980s. We worked on getting special credit provisions that farmers could get better credit terms. But the outreach is like critically important. And right now, the administration has proposed getting rid of all of the programs that we're talking about. So right now we're working from behind the scenes. That's what keeps the programs alive. That's what keeps the organizations alive all over the country that work with the farmers. If we lose that, it's going to be very, very difficult. We also worked to get things done, like to have the Assistant Secretary for Civil Rights be an Assistant Secretary. I guess we've kind of created some jobs at USDA over the years. Right now, they've just hired somebody in that position, but there were never the tools that were needed to actually, if you suffered discrimination, to get that situation, to get a real closure and to have justice done. And so those have been very, very difficult things that we've been working on over all of these years. We've made little bits of progress. We have people getting the high tunnels. We've got microloans. You can get a loan for $25,000 to $50,000. It's much easier to apply for it. And maybe that can help you to get a tractor or do something to improve your land. So we've seen the number of black farmers in particular went down, for many, many years. It was like 900,000 in the 20s, and, it was down as low as about 20,000. Partly because we're counting better. The numbers have not gone down as much. They're kind of stabilizing. But what we really want to see is we want to see how can we make agriculture, especially in those small communities, into something where we can get enough farmers to have a critical mass, to make a cooperative, and to start feeding their own communities. And so that's the goal that we've been working on. And in some places, and I know it's really, really short, so we're trying to go through this. So that's basically what we're trying to do right now. And in the 2008 Farm Bill, we got 30 sections in that Farm Bill. We can look in the Census of Agriculture, and we can look down to the county level, how many farmers are getting into the programs. We're trying to track it better. But it's still going to take a really, really hard fight to not go backwards from where we are. So we're kind of right now beginning to stabilize, but stabilize means, the size of African American farmers in particular are smaller than farmers almost in every county that we've looked at the data. It's a history of racism. You have a lower commodity, a base for your commodities. You'll get less disaster assistance and all of those things. So those things are all still baked into the system. So holding on is one option, and then to build it back up is going to require another couple decades of work. But we've been working together for 40 years now, and what you need in the Farm Bill is to stay in touch with people. We're following it all the time. We have phone lines and everything, so stay in touch. And we have been working with Senator Van Hollen on one of the bills we're doing right now. So I'm going to stop there. That's the quickest overview, and it's, of course, not complete.
Thank you, Lorette. Thank you for that great history of the Farm Bill. And it's really exciting to about now we're going to turn it over to Rudy to give us the more info about the work of the National Latino Farmers and Ranchers Association.
Well, first of all, I want to thank the PG Food Policy for the invitation. My relationship with Prince George's County goes quite a long way, beginning with one of your former senators, Tommy Broadwater, who I consider a friend, and Rashawn Baker, who I worked on at least a couple of his campaigns. Now your executive, county executive. Prince George has tremendous amount of potential with regard to agriculture. In areas such as this, agriculture is an economic engine which has yet to be embraced by your elected officials. Okay? I mean, I have attempted, for instance, we have a 10-year working relationship now with the University of the District of Columbia. We have a farmer's market. We're going to begin our 10th year in May. We were partners in their urban farm, in its capital. We have 27 garden plots. We have aquaponics and community gardens, a playground, and it's in one of those they call food deserts, which really means starvation zones, because you have no adequate food supply or fresh food supply in that area. So we are working that, and it's in Ward 7. The next thing we're working on with UDC is the 1862 HBCU. And it's the only urban agriculture college in the United States. We are beginning to look at how we're going to begin a relationship with them in terms of a mentorship farm. They have, we're working on a lease for 10 acres in which we will, which we haven't, really got the details down because it's hung up at OGC, or the Office of General Counsel at the university. But this is something that, I have attempted to try to get some of your elected officials, including return. But for some reason, that doesn't seem to work very well. So it is important that you get them engaged because it's essential. The other concern that I have with regard to places such as Prince George's County is urban sprawl and the loss of agricultural land, especially in view of the fact that we who are farming or the first responders of any climate event 24/7. That's who we are. First responders, because we have to take care of our property and our product. And yet we have not been, this is not unique to Prince George's County. I just went back, I grew up in Texas. My family, we were migrant farm workers. We traveled throughout the United States. We had a farm in Texas. And so one of the things that I was so appalled to learn is that our 60-acre farm in South Texas now it's outside of these cities, Edinburgh, and the other one is McAllen, which is close to the border. It's now a gated community, okay? This is in the middle of there's nothing around except farmland. And guess what? The price of that farmland is a result of that gated community. It's going to double and triple. Not to mention the footprint, because they're going to be needing other services. Because, these gated communities don't want to go, they don't want to be inconvenienced. And they have the resources to be able to bring other things that will make their life a lot easier. So we have to be wary about that and try to see through ordinances or other ways in which we can maintain agricultural land. We're members of the board of directors of the Coalition. It's the only multi-ethnic grassroots organization that I'm aware of in the United States, made up of Latino farmers, Black farmers, Asian farmers, tribal communities that are land-based and have agricultural land. So it is important to, and the fact is that organizations such as ours are not usually funded to the extent that they need to be, because we truly, we don't spend a lot of time, well, we spend more time than we would like to on the Hill, but it's only to protect that little bit that we have, like those 30 sections of the Farm Bill. I was privileged to work on the Farm Bill for the first time in 2008. Lloyd, Lorette, myself, Ross Racine from the Intertribal Agricultural Council, and Chico Tao from the Hmong American Farmers Association, and we were able to jointly be able to successfully get some of those things done. But we need everybody, because this is not just about ethnic, it's about everybody. We need to develop a sustainable community, because the next time that you have a hurricane or you have one of those climate events, if you don't have something that's close by, we're going to be hurt. So it is important that going back and we are, the National Latino Farmers Association was founded in 2005. And I'm the founder and I'm president and CEO. And it is difficult. if it weren't for the Rural Coalition that provides us with a lot of support, project we undertake, we have partnerships with, for instance, RCAP, the independent beef producers, with the Family Farm Alliance, which is 90,000 sheep producers throughout the country. So we are strong in that respect, in terms of our partnerships and alliances. But we also need you as communities right here, especially here in the Washington metropolitan area, because you don't have to go that far to go and talk to your elected officials and say, hey, we need food that is affordable, that is fresh, and that keeps our communities healthy, and also provide us with some income to support our family and have a little left over for ourselves. And thank you very much for the invitation. I enjoyed very much being here. Thank you.
Lloyd to talk a little bit about an insider's perspective on the farm.
Thank you. And thanks for inviting me here today. The Farm Bill, which is the one document, a comprehensive document, that's developed every usually they put in the Farm Bill that programs last for 4 years. But as Beth pointed out, they used to have trouble getting it done in 4 years. Sometimes the Farm Bill is 5 years. A lot of them have been 6 years. But whatever it takes. But by the way, when it's 4 years, they have to give an extension because programs will expire in 4 years. So they just hold them over. But in either case, from a history standpoint, the first Farm Bill was developed in 1933. And since then, there have been 17 farm bills. And these farm bills cover the policy, authorizations, the funding for all of the programs of the Department of Agriculture. And that includes, and I think we've talked about some of them, but the commodity programs, corn,
Voice up.
I'm sorry, okay. It includes the commodity programs, the conservation programs, trade, agricultural trade, and nutrition, which is the largest part of the budget part of the department. It's included credit, rural development, research, forestry, energy, horticulture, organic farming, livestock, crop insurance, and I think you had part of that you're going to hand out, and taxes, the commodity futures market, and then there's a miscellaneous section, which for some reason all of the provisions since like 1990 we tried to include in each farm bill provisions trying to level the playing field. What we call it social disadvantaged farmers, which includes the minority farmer groups. And most of the provisions relating to trying to level the playing field will be included in this main section, although occasionally we get them scattered elsewhere in those provisions. The farm bills are controversial. Many of those who work on farm bills hate other parts of it. Most of the folk organizations, large organizations, start to work on the farm bill as soon as when it's passed. They'll spend the next 4 years working on the next farm bill. And at one time, and I took a year off, and 1 year for Senator Harkin in 85, on the 85 farm bill, and it was a transparent process. We opened a number of farm bills were introduced, and they covered not necessarily all of the 12 or 14 titles, but they covered the items of interest to those particular groups. They produced a wide spreadsheet And all of the like kinds of proposals were put in columns, and the staff went over those, and those that we thought should be in the Farm Bill, I put in the Farm Bill, and those that we couldn't agree on, the Ag Committee worked on. And I tell you that now because we've gone from 85 to now, and I'm not sure I can get my hands on the Farm Bill that's being worked on right now. They intended to, because voted on it in February, but they didn't. They intend to vote on it in March, but it's not very transparent. And when I worked on the Farm Bill in 85, the coalitions in certain parts of the Farm Bill had more to do with where you were located. You know, corn folk fighting off the rice folk. It didn't matter as much about political party as it did the interest back home. That's no longer the case either. No, that's not the case. Political party has more to do now with where you are than the commodities or whatever that you would normally predict back home. When I think on the Farm Bill, Senator Harkin and Senator Grassley, the senators from Iowa at the time, I think their vote was probably 99% the same. If they had the same interest back home, that wouldn't be the case. It would be opposite, which is interesting. It's a process more difficult to deal with now. I still do some work and try to work on the Hill, promoting things primarily for social disadvantaged farmers. But it's difficult to work with a process that you can't see. And it's not very transparent. We have no idea, I have no idea, and I don't think some of the folks in Congress have any idea what will be put on the table. Maybe this week, maybe next week, and they'll have a very short time to vote on it, and then they'll figure it out later. So that's kind of unfortunate to watch the process go from being quite transparent to what it is now. Having put a farm bill together is step one of the policy development process. Step two is developing the rules and regulations that will implement the farm bill. And I think I used to say at one point in time that Congress and the legislators there, the bureaucrats write the rules to take away. And having done enough rules in my life, I understand the process. Unfortunately. But I'll go through the process. The process once the Farm Bill is passed, if it addressed or changed a provision, and basically that's what the Farm Bill will do. It looks at some provisions, the provisions will stay unless they're addressed in the Farm Bill, except for the authorizations and the funding. The funding expires in 4 years, obviously we have nothing to that, but some of the provisions, like the conservation compliance provisions, in 85, they stay. So they go from one Farm Bill to the other. So when I'm writing rules, you don't have to address those. You only address the changes you want to make that was in the Farm Bill just passed. So staff normally review the Farm Bill, and they go through the provision that need to be addressed. They draft rules to implement, and then publish the proposed rule, get feedback, and then based on comments, they do a final rule. And in some agencies, that's still just step two. Policies first, Farm Bill, second, they have rules. And then in the agency I work with, and NCS, they had manuals and guidance, and it could change again. So by the time it gets to the field, it might not look much like what folks thought they voted on, because it's been handled by a number of bureaucrats. But in either case, at that point, we put out policy and guidance and we start the process of it. And I guess I want to talk a little bit about that. And that I think the question is whether or not there's problems with Farm Bill. The problem with farm policy from day one, in my opinion, is the fact that folk feel that local control is good. And I don't like local control is really another definition of what you want to do out there, and we don't have outside oversight and compliance. So, and I'll give you an example. I farm a few acres, 100 or so acres. Back about a month and a half ago, I got a check. Didn't know I was going to get it. It was a nice check. But I was talking to my neighbor, who's a larger farmer, and he got $64 an acre because the commodity prices are down, so we still get checks. I don't think that they ever going to do away with that. This guy got $64 an acre. Another farmer that happened to be there got $24 an acre. I got 16. So if I'm going to buy fertilizer, seed, carry out and do all the kind of things I need to do, I can't do it at 16. One guy got 64. The difference is, and now I'm at the implementation stage, we need to work up the farm bills, and we need to put things in the farm bill. We need to put a lot of things in the farm bill to alleviate this condition, but it's not changed. But what happened in this case, although my bean crop, I think, was better than the guy that was cutting my bean crop, he told me, and I looked at his crop, and my crop was good, the yield was good, and I broke even $50. But in the base acres of the county, I have less base acres. Okay, and all black farmers, that's the case. Okay. The second is, they had me with less yield. So those checks were based on base acres and yields. I had less of both. Okay, those are done, initially were done by the county committee. That's why I don't like local control, because they get to take care of themselves, their family, and their friends. And I happen not to be either, though. Most of us are not on the committee. We're not in those categories. But we sometimes play with a lot of little things. And I'm supporting, outreach and 4 or 5 other things. That's not where the big money is. The big money is in the check that I didn't get. Okay, and they're still giving out. In that one period, they gave out $8.3 billion for farmers. Okay, and the small farmers got the least. I'll cover this, although I think I'm almost out of time. When I was back consulting with the secretary back 19 years ago, we had a farm in South Carolina. We applied for a loan and didn't get it because we couldn't cash flow. The administrative law judges handled that case. It didn't go to civil rights. And they looked at the details of why he couldn't cash flow. They showed him he was getting 50 bushels of corn per acre. You can't cash flow with that. I can't cash flow with 125 or 30 because corn is cheap. But in either case, this farmer won the county contest of all farmers, black and white. He was the highest corn producer in the county. But FSA had him in the system with 50 bushels. No, you can't cash flow with it. But if you put him in for 200, which is what he actually is producing, he can cash flow and pay the loan back. Now, the administrative law judges held hearings, and they said that was a pattern across the county. And I was there at the time and requested that the secretary do compliance reviews in the adjoining counties to see if they were also in the same position. That never happened. Okay, so I think there are a lot of hidden things that really don't get discussed, although we try to put some equity things in this farm bill. It won't happen because most folks don't understand, but it's the real thing that's killing farmers. That's why we've lost 97% of the black farmers since 1910. And I'm over, but thank you.
I'm a South Carolinian. That brings me shame. All right. So next we have Violet from Dreaming Out Loud Incorporated in Round Dollar Campus Day.
Good evening. As she said,
introduction, my name is Violet King, and I'm the farm manager at the farm at Kelly Miller, which is a new urban farm located in Ward 7 in DC. And I represent an organization called Dreaming Out Loud, which is a DC-based nonprofit that has been working on issues related to food systems and economics in underserved communities in Washington, DC since 2008. Prior to working in Dreaming Out Loud, I was the grassroots fellow at the National Sustainable Agriculture Coalition, and before that, I managed an urban farm in Ward 8 called the Art Farm. And tonight, I'm going to speak to you about local food and farm activism and ways that we can support and protect growers of color through both local and federal policy and support. And I'll be speaking mostly to things happening in DC, since that's where the majority of my work. And so the areas that I will speak about tonight will focus on land access, funding, access to markets, and grassroots advocacy, and how these areas impact growers of color. And as you all probably know, land access is a huge issue for growers of color. In DC, it feels almost impossible to find land that can be used for farming for a for-profit farmer. And so in DC, they have something called the Urban Farm and Security Act, and it was introduced as a way to try and help people who are interested in growing food inside the city to do so. And there are two pieces of this legislation that impact growers. One is gaining access to DC government land, and DGS, which is the Department of General Services, has been tasked with cataloging all the available spaces and are in the process of developing an application or RFP for utilizing these spaces for urban agriculture. And this act is a great step to try and provide land access to growers in DC. The other piece of the act pertains to private land and provides landowners with a 90% tax abatement for leasing out their property to be used for urban agriculture. And a grower of color who has successfully used this method to acquire land is Gail Taylor of Harmony Farm. And while this is great, the capital necessary to start up and successfully maintain an urban farm in DC is still a barrier for many beginning farmers of color. And so much of the landscape in DC is dominated by nonprofit organizations who, through the use of grants, foundation, and private funding, have been able to set up urban farms throughout the city. One of the ways that urban farms try to set up and maintain their growing spaces is through the use of USDA funding that focuses on low-income communities that have limited access to healthy food. The Community Food Project's competitive grant is one of the ways that some of the organizations in DC have been able to start or maintain the work that they do. But there are barriers to access these funds that can hinder nonprofits that are run by people of color. Only one project is typically awarded to organizations in DC, which means that it's highly competitive. And according to their website, only 18% of those who apply are awarded funding. And those who can apply and receive funds have to match those funds at 100%. This is a barrier for any small organization that may be just getting started who is looking for ways to fund their projects. And this may also be a barrier for more established organizations that don't have access to the type of networks that would allow them to cultivate a strong base of funders. So what can be done? I think that local governments need to invest more in creating grants or pools of funding for nonprofits or independent growers who are interested in growing food in their communities and providing it to low-income communities. Locally funded programs that specifically prioritize and incentivize farmers of color growing food in their own communities would be a great way to protect growers of color. And just today, I received an email about a funding opportunity through the Department of Small and Local Business Development, and they are soliciting grant applications for the Ward 8 grocery store and equitable food incubator grants. And so I was excited to see that because this is a great step on a local level to support organizations or individuals who are working to provide healthier food options in low-income communities. And hopefully these grants can support growers of color and prioritize people who are doing the work in their own communities. And the next topic I'm going to speak about is access to markets for growers of color. I think that many of the growers of color that I know in urban areas have involved in the food system because they see that there's a lack of access to healthy food in the communities that they live in, and they want to be able to find ways to provide their communities with better access to healthy food. But the lack of established markets in low-income communities is a barrier for growers of color who want to reach those populations. The local food promotion program and farmers market promotion program are two USDA funding opportunities that co-ops, CSA associations, nonprofits, agricultural businesses, and even local governments can use to increase the domestic consumption of and access to locally and regionally produced agricultural products, and to develop new market opportunities for farms and ranchers. This is another program that local nonprofits have used to assist them with working with people in low-income communities. And so the Local Farms Act, which should be a part of the upcoming Farm Bill, will make sure that these programs can continue to support local food systems. And the ask for the Local Farms Act is that there's increased funding to make that funding permanent. And on a grassroots level, for anyone who may be interested, you can call your legislator and ask them to support this act. But still, the application process for these grants are extensive, and small-scale farmers or associations may not have the time or the resources to apply. And so more support and assistance for farmers is key to making sure that they can take advantage of these funding opportunities in urban areas. And I think at a local level, there needs to be more support for organizations that are working to establish markets in low-income communities, as well as more input from residents so that these organizations can develop effective ways to reach these communities in spaces that are accessible. So I became interested in federal farm policy and grassroots advocacy because I recognized that there was a lack of education and outreach taking place in the communities that I worked in when it came to understanding the Farm Bill and having a voice or access to opportunities to engage in policy on a federal level. In DC, we can see the Capitol building for most areas of the city, but rarely do we understand or are involved in what's taking place there. And this means we don't have an understanding of how the policies that are being shaped right here in our city have an impact on our lives and the work that we do. And I think this is especially true for farmers and young and beginning farmers. I saw this so clearly during my time on the Hill. In so many of the spaces that I was in, I was one of the only people who was actually a farmer. And so how can we have discussions and be advocating for growers and not have them in the room to share their stories or learn about what is taking place? And so farmers have busy schedules. Our lives are dictated by the weather and the seasons. And oftentimes after March, we don't have time to do anything that isn't related to us farming. But still there needs to be more opportunities for farmers, and especially beginning farmers of color, to learn about and engage in policy on a local and federal level. I believe it's imperative for the work that we are doing to create a more equitable and sustainable food system, to connect with farmers and provide them a voice and an avenue to make change that will help them to do
so much for your presentation. I'd like to give the panel as a whole another round. There is so much incredible experience represented with this panel, as you can hear. And I have questions, but I'd like to open it up to the floor because I want you to be able to ask the questions that you have. I'm sure many came up. So we'll start taking questions. We often engage in these group discussions with the Food Equity Council. We love having folks from other jurisdictions like DC join us for these because it's a good learning opportunity, we feel, to borrow and steal some of the policies that have worked well in other places. So I'm so glad that Violet could share some tips from DC. But so, yeah, I'll go ahead and open it up. If we get into group discussion, that totally works. I will facilitate from up here, and I can even move down if it starts to get really engaging. So does anyone have a question for the panel? All right, Preston, and then Mr. Anthony.
As part of your comment, I'm retired from the Food Nutrition Service and I work primarily on the food stamp SNAP program. None of the people that I know who have worked professionally are still there in the program, and also some of the congressional staff people who really know the program would have begun to articulate anything about putting boxes out in place of nutritious food to deliver to people. There is a disconnect between the people who know something and what's being proposed. So I don't know where we go, other than maybe we need to elect some different administration. But it's frightening to me that the lack of transparency, because the point of fact is there's no depth of knowledge behind it. And you're nodding your head and saying, yes, that's it. Something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Second point, personal one.
Preston, can you raise your hand if you're familiar with the harvest box concept that is, okay. So for those who haven't heard about it yet, USDA has proposed that a box will be sent to anyone who gets federal food assistance benefits. I think maybe SNAP, is it just SNAP or is it others? It's SNAP.
It's SNAP primarily, and SNAP has the biggest chunk of that pie you showed.
And I think it actually came from Mr. Mulvaney, who's the Office of Budget and USDA, so it's even further.
Wow, okay, so there, oh gosh. And so then not only will they get this box of food that they don't choose if you're a SNAP recipient, you won't get to choose the food, it's probably going to be canned food, stuff like that. Also, they'll charge you about, I think it's, for a lot of people, it's going to be like quite a significant percentage of their SNAP benefits each month. Exactly.
It's proposed that it would be half of whatever your monthly allotment would be in this commodity box.
And they advertise it like Blue Apron.
And there's no,
Except the shelf stable.
Just to get a personal note, I was a parish priest in the Episcopal Church in New Hampshire when there were 1972, 3, 4, when I would take people to the distribution, to the county, to the boxes of food. And oh my gosh, when we got into the food stamp program in New Hampshire in 74, what a wonderful change. So one of the allies we have in terms of this issue is really the retail food industry. And also some of our local farm efforts in our county, we've made progress in terms of the number of places and the number of people using their food stamp people to purchase locally grown food, right? Yes. So, all right. So I just want to make that connection.
Yeah, and one thing you should kind of know, I've been up on the Hill, and they're trying to keep both the Republicans and the Democrats, a straight line on not cutting any more than has already been proposed out of SNAP, and they're going to try and put this idea apart, but things like getting rid of the Undersecretary for Rural Development, they're not going to fight. They're choosing which battles you're going to fight on the Hill. And so the thing is you might win a couple, but there's so many crazy ideas that can be really hard, and it's with a much smaller budget. So it's
Well, yes. Part of the problem has to do with the fact that these folks live in a different world than we do. I worked at the Department of Agriculture when it was Farmers Home Administration. And I was a part when Chairman Quique de la Garza was in office. One of the things that he helped me to do was to convert Texas to being go to the food stamps. Instead of the commodities, we just move with cheese and processed stuff. So it is that kind of distance in terms of the worlds that these folks come from. The perception is that all people who are receiving public assistance support are unworthy, and therefore, who cares? So it is a stigma, and it is something that, we've been trying to fight for the longest time, and for the most part, it's not very successful. So,
One last little personal note, very quick. I have a niece. She's terrific. Her name is Elizabeth Embry. She is running with Return Baker for a lieutenant governor. And I guarantee you that if we have them in the state office, we will have their ear.
Hey, that's back to Rudy's point on your must-have video of your local elected officials. And we do have, I will say that we know that we have some folks who are candidates for elected office or who are representing elected officials here. Maybe now's a good time for it. So if you're either representing an elected official, you're someone who works in their office, or you're a candidate, can you please stand up just so we can recognize you and thank you for being here? Great, thank you. Could you ladies introduce yourself and say which office you're from? Thank you so much.
Hello, everyone. My name is Crystal Orietta. I'm running for County Council for District 7.
Hello. My name is Monica Watson. I am the constituent liaison for Councilmember Santos, the current council member for District 7.
Thank you. And if you guys were, maybe you're suspicious, we are in District 7. Right? Thank you both for being here. Mr. Anthony, I think you had a question next.
Yes.
I'm interested in how the federal funds able to construct a to find out what legislation have opportunity not
If only we had a Prince George's County farm bill. That is a problem. So that's a great question. I think, this kind of gets into what Violet was saying. But I'll open up to the full panel.
Well, I believe that that would be a wonderful idea to introduce the local bill that addresses the concerns of the community. I just came back from Chicago, and one of the things that there was a National Hispanic Caucus of State Legislators. And one of the things that I said to them, I said, look, it is important for this body. You are our boots on the ground with regard to issues of concern, which in my case is agriculture, farm and ranching issues. And we need to do it because we've been looking at the Fed for the longest time, and having worked at the Department of Agriculture through the Carter administration and again Clinton was in office. It is such a, Lloyd just said in terms of how difficult it is to be able to implement something that, is really going to be able to help local communities. It's just too far away. Too far away. So why not? I mean, you have a county executive, address issues that have to do with, food and farm policy. I mean, you have, in Prince George's, you still have a significant amount of farmland. Please, take care of it. Don't let it get into a sprawl, because it won't come back.
Yeah, so I think it's really important that everybody knows that if you're farming on any piece of land, number one, it doesn't make a difference whether you're in an urban area or a rural area. If you are a farmer, you are a farmer, and you are eligible, even if you're in DC, for farm programs. You might not be eligible for a lot of them, but you are eligible and you get a farm number. And then there were also state programs in every state. So that might be like a good thing, just like what are the basics. One issue we're working on is if you are farming, how many people own a house and you have relatives that have passed away and there's a whole bunch of heirs and you have to split it up? That's a huge issue. It's a huge issue with farmland. And, it's also, if you don't have wills and you have lots of relatives, you can't get into a FEMA program. If you had damage to your house in a disaster, same thing on farms, you can't get into agriculture programs if you don't have a lease or a deed. And that's some legislation we're working on right now to try and help families into that. So that's a huge issue, especially for African American families. And so there's a lot of There's a lot in what you're saying. We are doing in Rural Coalition, we're just finishing a workbook on what are the basic things you need to do to get eligible for farm programs and signing up at Farm Service Agency and Natural Resources and Conservation Service, just to make sure you're doing, everything that's available to you.
And I would say the federal farm bill, you're correct. Everything that I talked about was the federal. And now some of it is implemented at the local level. And which I said, I'm not fond of, simply because history has been that there's discrimination across the board. We don't have compliance divisions going out checking on what's going on, and when they check and find things wrong, they don't fix it. So I think the federal should take care of their own, but then there should be a state and a local, because one of the things that we tried to include something in the federal farm bill to have additional services provided to urban communities for food production. There's a movement for really to get some of the agencies out of anything in the urban communities. And there's a movement to reorganize NRCS, for example, and put it in the Farm Service Agency, Risk Management. It'll be 4 agencies, NRCS, FSA, Farm Service. Then they create a whole separate agency that will handle all the money. So the agency heads will be preachers. They won't have any, they can't make anything happen. They can't do a contract, they can't hire people. I wouldn't handle the agency if you took my money.
They're doing it.
They're doing it. And I also had trouble doing things when I had control of all those things. So they're doing it right now. That's what they're trying to do. So I'm not so sure when you talk about the boxes, what you're talking about, the organizations of rural development, eliminating part of it, or the NRCS. Someone told me that there are folk who really don't want the department to function, and they think it'll crumble. So they're doing a bunch of things, in my opinion, that will lead to that. When you take the money from the agency then, put it in another agency, and they don't have field people, but they'll make the decisions. I think you designed it fair. And if that's your preference, you're doing all right.
And they're not spending the money that Congress is spending.
No, they're not spending it. But I was surprised that they spent at $8.3 billion with a B. Okay, they said they didn't have money. I had no idea I was going to get a check. I didn't expect one. It was nice to get it. I just wish it was the same size as the white ones. And that is not being dealt with or even discussed. So, and if you have farmers in this county green, otherwise, that checks was reduced. I checked across the country and it was happening. But I knew that before. I expected that they would be reduced. And this farm bill would not fix that.
And I will let Violet respond, and then I think Yvonne has a question.
Yeah, I would say I think that in DC, in the past 5 years or so, the urban agriculture scene has really boomed. And so I think that, DC government is recognizing that, and that's why, slowly through, policy and things like that we are able to get more support. I think that having this Food Equity Council is really important, because this could be a voice for folks in this area to try and push for more of the things that you want to see on a local level. And so that would be, my suggestion is just putting more pressure on the local officials and sharing their stories and their needs and things like that, and really organizing on a grassroots level to make sure that the needs that you all have are being met and are being supported.
I would like to say that Mr. Anthony has been a strong advocate for urban farming. You were able to successfully rezone about 73% of the county's land to allow urban farming to take place. And Mr. Anthony was there at the committee hearings, the public hearings, helping us draft the legislation in between. So you're right, we have power and we need to experience. All right, move on. And I think we can maybe do like, maybe one more quick question after.
My name is Suman, I'm an intern at City Farm. And so we were talking about more of the legislative side of the Farm Bill. Recently I learned about another Farm Bill, an alternative Farm Bill that is written, written by Congressman Bloomin called the Food and Farm Act. This is a question for all the panelists. Are you aware of this bill and could you speak on it a little bit?
Yeah, I'm very aware of it. The Union of Concerned Scientists were passed that out, which you have in your hand. And that's what's called a marker bill, which means that, you know, that additions can be made. It's like a skeleton, you can do additions to it. What is going to happen with it, it's anybody's guess, because like, you know, Lloyd said, none of us, except for that, you know, that's all we get. Because in terms of what they, you know, people like Debbie Stabenow, who's a ranking member in the Senate Agriculture Committee, the Pat Roberts, it's all being done behind closed doors. So that whatever elements, they'll make statements which you kind of have to read between the lines in terms of what it is that they are withholding. They'll say, well, we can't add that because of this. So, you know, it's just it's a shell game that they play. And it's those with the money, the commodities people in particular, who are getting subsidies, lots of subsidies. And it's not the small producer.
I'm not sure any of those provisions are in the Farm Bill that we might see.
Right, so this one is very progressive. The representative is from represents Portland, so you can already guess that it's a very progressive bill. He's had hearings on it. There's a video on his website where he brought Michael Pollan to talk about his favorite thing, which is the food system, how it works, and how it's failed.
Well, you know, you have some very powerful people in here in Prince George's County. You know, Steny Hoyer, you know, it's a leadership position. And while he's not on the agriculture committee, but you know, it's leverage that should be so inclined. You know, you have people like Congressman or my senator, you know, Mulholland, who unfortunately gave up his seat on the agriculture committee to do something else. But my impression was that he was somewhat influential with Stabenow. You know, I just in terms of reading some tea leaves, first of all, she sent out a press release about him, which is as a freshman in the Senate, most people don't give you that kind of attention. So, and the fact that he was on the Senate Agriculture Appropriations Committee was extremely significant because, you know, as a senator, particularly someone that I've worked for over 30 years with, and I suggest when he was running, please try to seek a seat in the Agriculture Committee because we were losing Senator Barbara Mikulski, who was extremely helpful in terms of some of those things. So, yeah, I think it's important that you empower yourself and talk to your elected officials about things such as this. This is very, very important.
In '85, that bill would have had a column in that spreadsheet I could talk to you about. It was transparent. All of those, a bunch of those were in they all had their columns, and we sit down and decided what to go in. But like I said, it's not transparent.
Yeah.
So whether or not one word of that ends up in the
The Bloomin' Hour bill is better than it's been in some iterations. And one lens I tell you about equity in the Farm Bill is it's really, really hard to look one by one in that, because there were certain things in earlier versions of the Bloomin' Hour bill. There was a whole effort a number of years ago, especially in 2002 and 2008, to have a whole separate farm bill that got rid of subsidies and put money into other programs. And what we ended up with is we ended up with a lot more crop insurance and less subsidies. And there's not necessarily any equity. And so there also has to be an affirmative equity piece. Like one piece that we're putting in a bill we're working on with Ms. Lujan Grisham and Ms. Fudge right now is to, on a county by county basis, give us the payment yields and base acres of farmers by race, gender, and ethnicity. The point that Lloyd raises is really important. There's another small piece, which is they were going to cut out everybody under 20 acres. It takes a lot of money to pay you in a commodity program. That's like the hobby farmers. It's too much paperwork. So they cut out everyone under 20 acres. And we said, now, wait a minute. That's almost all the farmers that we deal with. And so we got a waiver, and we need to make sure that waiver stays in for people of color farmers. And so, the equity lens means a whole other work. Like we have to look at what do the tribal farmers need, what do the farmers on the Acequia in New Mexico. And one thing I'd really appeal is that we understand what are the connections between urban ag and black farmer agriculture, like here in Maryland and in the Southeast. Because what ends up happening is we can set one against the other. And so even like if the Bloomin' Hour bill is an alternative, it still doesn't address most of the issues, it addresses a few of them that we need to actually make African-American farmers advance. So as we're looking at an equity lens, and I think Violet raised another point, which is also that you need to have farmers at the table, to really raise through it. So none of it's easy, and I think it's great to try a lot of different approaches. What they're doing right now, we're working on trying just to get an amendment rather than a whole bill and get it in the base language. And we're talking with the Republicans and the Democrats, but it's harder now than it's ever been. I've been doing this for 40 years, and this is going to be one of the toughest battles, which is why we have to get together with all of our allies everywhere and try and make the political case that we need to. Number one, just to continue the Farm Bill. Number two, to keep food and nutrition together, which is another thing, they've tried many times to divide it, plus to keep these benefits and to keep them for people in the cities and in the rural areas. And that's why we encourage you to be connected to a network. I've got, you'd be happy to take your names, and then Sydney, any names that you want to share with me. And we do have an e-update list. We try and have a phone call every once in a while to keep you engaged in what's going on, because an appropriately timed call and letter is what's going to help bring this through. So it's really good that you're looking at alternatives and thinking about them. And, come when we get together in town, we have all the Rural Coalition here next December where you can meet the other farmers, but we'll probably have something mid-time too, because when you go up to the hill, we got to do it together. So, yeah.
Well, that Father's Monday, folks, I'm sorry to correct you. We're at time.
Yeah, I would just echo what Rudy was saying, is that not to be afraid to reach out to your congresspeople. That's something that I learned while I was working on the bill, is that you can schedule meetings with people, you can go into these buildings. Like it's much easier, I think, to have access to these spaces than we think it is, and I think that's what keeps a lot of us from engaging. But you can call their offices, and all of the staffers, they're young people, they're my age or they're younger, in these offices and things. And so I think that we need to be thinking about that, especially while we're right here, right by DC, that's something that we can do. And if you are a member of these organizations or coalitions, then they can support you and give you the language and the different things so that you can make the different asks that you need And there are these coalitions that are out here that will support you and have field days and farmer clients and things like that, that you can get your voices heard on.
Yeah, so we will get on the e-newsletter for the Rural Coalition, and the next Hill Day, we'll let you guys know so we can all go. Yes, I guess so.
On March 23rd and 24th, there's going to be a conference called the Food Justice and Our Right to Food Conference. And it's being sponsored by Michelle Tigley Clemens, who used to work with the Food Research Action Committee with BRAC. So, and this, it would be important in terms of, for those of us that live in this region, to collaborate, because we're much stronger together than we are as, divided by, this borders, and it would be wonderful to have you, there's several of us, I will be there, the dean from UBC is going to be there, she's doing a keynote. So please consider, put it on your calendar. We'd love to have you there because, like I said, we really need to work on this. It's our, it's our food.
Yeah, thank you so much. We will get, Margaret has the info for that conference. She's been in touch.
I'm on the panel with you.
Oh,
And,
good.
the thing that's critical about that conference is it's also sponsored by the Grey Panthers of DC, and it's called the Why Conference because rather than just talk about solutions, it talks about how we got here first. What are the root causes of hunger? And I think that that's critical, that we really kind of blow past that because you can't fix something if you don't understand.
Absolutely. So I would like to thank our panelists. I know we still have some more questions. I will get them via email from you guys and send them to the panel. I want to respect everyone's time. It is 6, or perhaps we can stay and mingle for a bit till we get kicked out, but I know we do have 2 more questions. I apologize. So I'm going to have Kim come up here for closing remarks. Again, I'd like to thank our panelists for being here.
So first, I want to thank you guys for sharing your stories and sharing some very thought-provoking discussions. So again, we appreciate your time and energy. And also want to thank those of you who are representing county elected officials and candidates for office. We appreciate you attending. And most of all, we appreciate our participants here today and you guys taking a step to come and learn a little bit more about this issue. We have a few next steps for you guys to consider in terms of getting more involved with this work. First being to build relationships with your county, state, and federal officials to start thinking about this issue with them and establishing a foundation for your advocacy work with them around food and farming policy. Also connecting with groups engaged in the Farm Bill, such as some of these groups up here, and sign up for their action alerts, connect with them on social media. This is a way to keep yourself informed and also to be aware of any sort of action opportunities that you can participate in. Also advocate on the local level. Join a local food policy council, potentially like the Food Equity Council. We're always looking for work group members and people to get involved, so we invite you to do that. We'll have more information for you after this panel about how you can do that. And also, we're always on social media. We have action alerts as well. You can follow us at PGCFEC on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. So we'd love to have you continue the conversation with us there. And finally, making sure you use your dollars and voices to support farmers of color. Let the places you shop know that it's important to you for them to stock products produced by local farmers of color. So with that, we're going to wrap up the program. We hope to see you soon. And again, we really appreciate you taking the time out of a Tuesday evening to join us and talk about this really important topic. So thank you. And W2. Yes.